Pledge allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I was like,
It's a one nation under God. It comes from Dale Fellows in Lake County. He's the official, how you say a pledge of allegiance properly kind of guy.
so are you supposed to call?
You're not supposed to pause. You're supposed to say one nation under God.
Is there
But
no
everybody
comma
pauses.
there?
Everybody says, no,
They
everybody
need a
pauses.
breath.
They need to take a breath.
Yeah, they need to take a breath at some point in time, or else they pass out.
All right, sorry for that little aside.
The Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board approve and execute the minutes for the meeting of February 9th, 2016.
Make that motion.
I second.
Need a second.
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner Rea.
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool.
Aye. Can I not say aye and that's a second at the same time?
No combo.
You're such a stickler for
I'm so
procedure.
sorry.
You all see who really runs this thing?
We knew.
Yeah.
We just get to sign the paperwork, you know, nod our heads, yes.
I just have to wait for a response.
Okey dokey, our next boss.
Financials today include supplemental appropriations for the engineers' municipal road tax and multiple ditch funds to appropriate their carryover balances. Cash transfers out of the general fund for the third quarter state fiscal year 16 public assistant mandated share, portions of 2016 funding for the sheriff's 911 program and the 800 communications fund. Purchase order for Preston Ford for the purchase of a 2016 Ford Escape for the building department in the amount of $21,251.50. Contract for GPD Group Incorporated for contract maintenance form number 1 for additional engineering to upgrade Auburn Corners wastewater treatment plant in the amount of $265,600. Travel request for the Department of Emergency Services and Department of Job and Family Services. And the payment to Envirocom Construction for pay request number 12 for contract A for the Department of Water Resources Thompson Township Sewer Project in the amount of $73,831.09.
What is the, I just picked up on this. Last item under budget adjustments, I didn't know if I saw that last night or not, if it was on there, but it's the loans made by loans or loans
Yeah,
made,
that is
loans
the
made. What is that?
revolving loan fund, they're de-appropriating the line item.
So we're
they're
taking money out
just
of their program.
Yes, they are, they're doing it themselves, they're de-appropriating the line item.
That's reflecting resources, right?
Yes.
So we get that back into the general fund, or where does
No.
that go? Just goes out of the, which fund is that?
It's just a reduction to that line item, the loans main line item. So instead of a supplemental appropriation, they're adding more to it, this one they're just taking away from. It's a de-appropriation.
Make the motion. Go, you gotta read it.
Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board approve and execute resolution number 16-012, itemizing the financials for the meeting of February 18th, 2016.
I'll make that motion.
Second, sorry.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Great to Richie.
Okay, then I'm reporting on 2 items I approved on February 16th, as authorized by you under Resolution 16005. There's just 2 water resources contract agreements. One was with Comfort Systems USA for a contract that goes between 16 and 18, and the second was at Vine Court Landscaping and Gas Line Services for 16 and 17.
Ready?
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, it's time to, there's only one spot. Don't panic. It's only one spot.
It is thick, but there's only one spot.
This is the pre-application that goes into FAAs for this year's round of FAA funding. We had asked this year for a little bit more in our budget to match some grants, and we had something nice happen, which doesn't happen too often, but the state has come up with some additional monies. So they are going to be cutting our grant matches in half on most of our state and federal grants this year. So we're probably a little over budgeted this year, but I'll let you know how all that's going to go when we get all the figures in. For this round of FAA grants, the total grant is $182,000. 163.8 of that will be FAA, and 9,100 will be matched by the state, and 9,100 will be our local match. Usually that would have been 18,000, so that's a very nice savings for us. This grant, we're doing several smaller projects together. The FAA, we had a teleconference with the FAA, and we realigned some of our priorities here. One of our priorities is still to get rid of the obstructions, and we'll be doing that. We did get a state grant already that you've already approved for about $53,000. That will be getting rid of all the trees and any obstructions on our property, which are not as much as the ones off our property. I did just go to the Village of Middlefield and asked to take about 3.5 acres of trees down on their property to clear the 2N9. And I have one farm out there that will clear that completely. So we should be able to get our night approach back as soon as that's done, which, depending on Indiana bat season and all that jazz, will either be late this fall or early next spring. Then we'll be working on the 11 end through ODOT. This particular grant with FAA, we need to get PAPI lights put in. PAPI lights are a series of lights that as an airplane is approaching the runway, if you are in the proper path to make a smooth landing, the lights show green. If you are too high, too low, they show red. This is something we've never had on the airfield, and most airports have it, and we're gonna update a little bit. So what we're doing is we're doing a design only this year. For new runway lighting, we've had some runway lighting issues where they've been intermittently going on and off, and we have to correct that and design these PAPIs. So the design of the basic airfield lighting will be about $33,000, actually $33,255. The design of the PAPI lighting will be $22,800, and then we should be able to proceed with those next year, putting them in. There's another thing that FAA normally does not do that we have gone to them and say, hey, this is a big need for us, but we've gotten the majority of our pavement is under grant to be finished, with the exception of a small area between and around the T-hangars. And the FAA nor ODOT normally will cover an area that's 27 foot in front of a hangar. We've gone to them and said, hey, this is the worst of our pavement. It's something that without a grant we really can't afford to do, but we've just beefed up these hangars and we need to do the same to the pavement. So they're gonna take a look at that. That's gonna be about $105,000, and I believe they're gonna cover it. We'll wait till we get final word, but it sounds like they're interested in covering it for us. And the last thing is we just have to do some repairs, crack filling around the joints and a few things on our runway. So the runway will be about $20,000, the taxi lanes will be about $105,000. So the total, like I said, is $182,000, and that's what we're submitting now to FAA, and it's committing the county out of the airport's budget for $9,100.
Do you need the obstructions removed to put in those sissy lights?
Yes.
So I call those PAPI lights sissy lights.
Sissy
Yeah.
lights? Can I ask a question on this?
Sure.
You refer to runway 29, which is compass heading 290.
Right.
So that's for people approaching from the west toward the east.
From the east toward the west is 290.
From the east to the west, that's considered 290?
Yeah, and 11 is the other. end.
11 is the
Comes in off
reciprocal.
Yeah.
So the light's
29 is
gonna be
out
on
by
both ends?
528. Yes, eventually, yes. The first thing, we can't put the PAPIs in until we've met all the obstruction requirements. So 29 will be, they'll be designed this year. We'll get 29 completely cleared, get our night approaches back. Then we're still working on the other end. Obviously, there's some things there that we still have to work out. There's the tower that we lit still has to be painted and the telephone poles are still an issue. But we want to at least make sure we've got them at least on one side as soon as we can.
So the prevailing direction for landings based on the winds is typically out of the east toward the west?
Yes,
Okay.
Coming towards the highway.
yes.
So you don't have any night approaches at all today?
They were removed almost 2 years ago because of obstructions, pine trees, and so we've been in the process, and it's taken this long to finally get the grants to be able to get that done.
What is the approach that you're shooting for? POR approaches, ILS approach, I mean, what approach are you talking about?
The instrument approach.
Instrument approach? Do you have body slope and everything in there?
That pavement in front of those T hangers, is that concrete or
No, it's black.
asphalt? Asphalt.
Yeah.
Do we have an approved GPS approach in there? I haven't looked at the charts on it.
We did.
Long
That's
time.
part of also what they removed until we get the obstructions done.
So once that's done, you'll truly, I mean, we have no approaches in there now at all for night, other than
Right.
visual approach.
Right, just the visual.
Not an ILS or instrument approach.
Yeah.
Interesting. all
So
right,
this is a
good.
big step for us to get this done, and we're really excited about first getting the grant to get the trees we needed to off of our property, but we're taking that a little bit farther. We're getting all the trees off the property so that we don't have to do it again for quite a while. And there's a little bit of a drainage issue towards the 2-9 end of the runway. We've got a drain pipe that runs under the runway that sometimes stays full. So we're gonna work on that at the same time with that grant. And then the property from the village of Middlefield is along the buggy path, and they've given us permission to go ahead and take out everything we need to take out. And I think that will help with the drainage over there. There's such a heavy canopy over there that it doesn't dry out. So I think that'll help us in both.
Are your lights on all the time, or they're
No, they're
activated at
Yeah.
peak? Well, that's a big thing. I don't know how many people understand what the value of those approaches are. I mean, we've got a valuable airport, but you can't use it at night because people can't shoot an approach into it. That's a big thing.
It
So this
is,
this
and
a
we
good
need to
thing
get
for
that
you.
corrected, and that's what we've been
Yeah.
working on. You know, it's difficult, the monies that we take in on the rent and the fuel sales, we've been able to be very self-sustaining as far as our operational expenses, but these projects are another story, and that's where we really appreciate the VOCC stepping up and giving us the match money, or else we couldn't even take the grant money.
It's about 5% of the project, right?
Now, yes, and then some engineering on top of it. It was about 10% until this year.
Yeah, we were supposed to, it looked like originally we paid 10 out of that, and they're splitting our 10.
Right, this goes back to ODOT getting an additional pot of money available to them. FAA years ago had put in a restriction on airports that when you make money on an airport, that money has to be used to support the airport. I mean, FAA doesn't want to come in and give money all the time and have the money that's being made there go somewhere else. So what was happening is the state tax on the fuel sales was being collected by the state to the tune of about $13 million a year for general aviation airports. And they were only giving grants out of $800,000 a year. So the FAA stepped in and the federal government said, this needs to be changed. So they've given them about 3 years to come into compliance where all that money is being used the way it's supposed to be used. So in the meantime, the budget went from $800,000 last year to $6 million.
Wow.
So they had this extra money, and for airports our size, we're very fortunate that we are co-sponsors with the county, and the county is able to assist us with the grant matches. Most airports, they can't afford to take the grants because they can't come up with the matches. So in this case, ODOT said, well, you know, it's been so hard for some of these airports, let's start there. Let's take half of that burden off of them, and that's where they've done that.
Good.
So it's moving in our favor, and I'm very pleased with it right now. I hope everything stays the way it's going.
Okay.
Thank you.
Geauga County Airport Authority is requesting the board approve and authorize the president of the board to execute the pre-application for federal assistance SF 424 for FAA AIP project 33900541916 for the design of a new airfield lighting system designed for the installation of a PAPI runway 29, reconstruction of T-hanger taxiing lanes, and runway correct seal in the amount of $182,000, $163,800 Federal Aviation Administration, $9,100 state, and $9,100 local county match.
I'll make that motion.
Second, sorry.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Just not used to, aye,
Thank you.
Thank you.
used to waiting. All right, who's
Hey,
here?
Johnny.
Johnny, we haven't seen you for a while.
I know.
You've been hiding. Yeah? Go back.
Came out, saw our shadow.
Sunshine.
See, it's spring, it's time to start doing community development.
Yeah. Why?
Good, how are you? So what's up?
The first item is just the final performance report for the water and sewer agreement for the Johnson Township Sewer Project.
That's wrapping up, we get to go to dinner and cut a ribbon.
No, this is the sewer.
No ribbon cutting for the sewer.
Well, what was that, where were we at the township meeting? We were at the township dinner. Not a great place for the topic to come up, but one of the trustees talked about they were gonna have their first ceremonial flush.
At the community center.
Yeah.
Yes, and we did, we had that.
Oh,
Yeah.
so the cameras weren't there, the papers weren't there for the
No, it's just
pulling of the
us all
handle or
looking,
anything?
all looking
Oh,
down in the
okay.
toilet bowl, make sure it's
Come on.
spinning
Come
around.
on.
It was pretty
Come on.
ridiculous.
During an acquisition, Green Valley Times, you
Yeah,
can
like that.
catching that swirl.
That's right,
So,
that's right.
Maple Leaf wasn't there catching that. Oh, my goodness.
Well, that's a whole different
Best
subject that we
opportunity.
can talk about after.
Or not?
Well, the grand opening.
Oh, okay, right, all right.
Yeah, so we'll talk
I
about
meant
that.
flushing is.
In any case, we finalized this grant. We were only able to find 3 low-income families in the sewer district that we could utilize the funds to tie in. So it was about $15,000 of the $100,000 that we were granted. So the other approximately $85,000 is gonna remain with the state. We asked them if we could have it to put into the project, and they said no, so.
I'm very happy to hear we don't have that many low-income people to give that to.
Yeah. So anyway, so we're all done.
Okay, good.
Okay. Yeah, so, Economic Development is requesting the board approve and authorize the president and board to execute the Ohio Community Development Block Grant Program Final Performance Report for Grant BW 131AZ1 for the period September 1st, 2013 through January 31st, 2016.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Okay, so this is the community center now that we're talking about. So, in the beginning of the project, because the building had been abandoned for 20-plus years, it was kind of hard to know everything that was happening with the building. So one of the things that was discovered after construction began was that the basement floods often. And of course, that wasn't taken into consideration because the trustees didn't think that the basement flooded at all. So it does flood on a fairly regular basis. The options were to completely dig around the perimeter and waterproof, and, you know, we weren't gonna do that. That's not gonna happen. But the way that it works now, because of the way that the ramp and the parking lot were put in, has alleviated a lot of the water flow into the basement. But there's still some moisture down there, and the contractor had to install a vapor barrier on the ceiling in the basement to protect the wood floors above, and, you know, so that was one of the issues that we used to resolve that moisture problem. The other issue is that it became very apparent very quickly that if we stuck with the original plan of one of those little college refrigerators in the kitchenette, there would be no room for people who are bringing trays of food in. And you know, for the safety issue. I mean, people would be bringing in, I don't know, deviled eggs or something, couldn't put it in the refrigerator, there just wasn't enough room. So we changed the design of the kitchen and upgraded to a full-size refrigerator. And the microwave turned out to be a little bit more expensive than the architect had on spec. So that's what this is about.
Okay.
So we only have one more issue to address, and I promise you I'll be coming back. You've seen the building, I don't know if you
Mhm.
looked
I
at
haven't
the
seen it
building.
yet, no. Yeah, it's
The
been up.
well is right outside of the building, and we had to do a lot of finagling to protect that whole area. And so now we do have one last moisture issue or water issue that we have to resolve in there, and it may be as simple as just putting some river stone or something to force the water to go off the other side, force it north. The engineer is still working on it, so I can't tell you what the solution is. I'll be back.
There's standing water that stands around
Standing
the
water
casing.
and, yeah, and we don't know. I mean, there's a lot of icicles. You know, we alleviated the gutters from the building because it was apparent that the gutters would have come down because of the icicle issues. So we don't have gutters, but we still have the icicles, and they're, you know, crashing down right near the area where the well is. Not that it's doing any damage, but then that moisture is not able to run where it's supposed to run to get it out of there. So it's probably a simple fix, but we're waiting on the engineer to tell us.
Okay.
The Office of Community and Economic Development is requesting the board approve and authorize the president of the board to execute change order number 4 for Marks Building Company, increasing the contract due to a change in the scope of work for the installation of a vapor barrier in the crawl space to protect hardwood flooring, and an additional cost to upgrade to a full-size refrigerator and microwave for phase 2 of the Thompson Township Community Center rehabilitation project in the amount of $2,311.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Brand?
Aye.
And then if I could, revert back to the ribbon cutting. which you-
Oh, go ahead.
Yes, I sent that out to them.
Did you? Yeah, okay, I think it's April 7th. They're very anxious to have at least one commissioner
It's in the
Well,
email.
I will
It's
be there
Thursday, April 7th from
pending
6
my
to 7.
calendar or
Yeah, I
some
know, it's a long way.
household
there. Yeah,
or personal type thing that I'm maybe not aware of yet.
okay. Well, I think it is April 7th, and so Christie took care of,
Okay.
you know, that's what it's all about, so we.
Yeah, I sent you guys an email that you
that's-
forwarded
yeah,
me
no,
to
I'll-
yesterday from them asking about.
I'm the closest
they would like
commissioner to
schedule
it,
but
so
They were waiting
Yeah,
to see
I
what
will
your
for sure
availability
be
was.
I'm really good, okay.
And you'll be there?
If you want me there, I'm happy.
You didn't see the before product, did you?
Not really, no. I know, yeah, I mean, I might have stuck my head in there years ago, and it was pretty bad.
well, yeah, it was locked when I would go there and look, and that was before they started the project. I looked at the facility, and then David and I, when we were there looking at the progress of the sewers,
Mhm.
went over and toured it, and then they, I forget who it was, encouraged us to go down the basement, which you take about 3 steps, and that's it's really a crawl space. It's not.
It is a crawl space,
It's
yeah.
not really a basement. I mean, there are a couple of steps, but
That's where the furnace and the hot water tank and everything used to be.
that used to be down there. That's all out of there now, right?
It's all out of there. It's all
So what is down there?
Nothing, water.
Yeah, well, that's, when I talked
And the
to,
alternative if there's a tornado coming.
I
Yeah.
don't know about that, but, I'm gonna take my chances out in the ditch in case that building comes down. I talked to Anita yesterday, and I was thinking about it. Why don't we just fill it in?
I don't know. It's an interesting,
I mean, if there's no mechanicals down there, I mean, you can't fill it all in, you're still gonna have a crawl space, which, that's not unheard of, but that lower level, and, or put something in there and get a sump pump in there to extract the water. You can't do the moisture, I mean, if there's.
The problem with filling something like that in though is you trap the moisture then in there.
Well, I'm just
So-
with gravel, and it's just gonna come back out, but why have, you know, I mean, there's a hole that's gonna fill with water. You put even stone in it or something, it'll displace that amount, and there'll be that much less water in the hole than.
Well, as I said though, the way that they designed the ramp, which a lot of the water was coming from, you know, those two sides, and the parking lot, it really has alleviated a lot of it. But, I think it's gonna come through the walls regardless.
Well, isn't the whole place built on rock?
Mhm.
So the ground's not gonna absorb the water because it's rock. So if you put a hole in the middle, the water's gonna go to the easiest place to go to. If it can't permeate the rock, it's coming to the open area. That's all I was saying is that,
I don't know.
do I wanna pay for it? I thought you could get a deal on silica rock out there. Yeah, I'm just saying, it shouldn't be, transportation shouldn't be too expensive. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'll take a spin up there this next week, take a look at it.
Hi, Glenn.
Morning.
Good morning.
Beautiful morning, ain't it?
Oh,
Well, it wasn't until yesterday when I pulled in and there was a boring machine parked right over here.
Oh.
yeah, you had the wrong year too on your actual request. Your action, so March 30th, 2015, I was like,
I don't know if it's possible.
that's entirely up to you, and so you wanna make that change? Okay.
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Number 7 is the maintenance department for Auburn Fence. We do a service contract with them for 2 years. We get fence that we need repaired after the winter months or whenever we can get a tree that falls on. All our fences are out, tower sites, we got fence around, DES, any fence within the county. So we bring them out and get it rechecked. So this is just a service contract, so we can get it out and get that done right away. Go on or just stay?
Yeah, let's,
one
why
at a
don't we do a
time?
couple of these service contracts, we can do them together, they're very similar, so.
Yep.
How many of them are there?
The next one is the landscaping, that's for the Red Simmons Memorial, we have a sprinkler system there. They come out at the winter time, drain everything, winterize it, and the whole works, and then in the summertime, they come out, make sure all the sprinklers are working, do the backflow preventer on it, and make sure everything's working properly for that. The next one is a service contract with fire protection. This is for our sprinkler systems, our wet systems and dry systems throughout the county. They come out and do the proper testing, state testing and everything on all the systems to make sure all the sprinkler heads and all the safety devices and the alarms and everything are working properly according to the state code.
And that's stage 3, right?
Yes. The maintenance department is requesting the board approve and execute a service contract agreement with Auburn Fence Corporation to perform fence repairs, replacement, and installations as needed at various Geauga County building sites for the years 2016 and 2017 in an amount not to exceed $5,000. The maintenance department is requesting the board approve and execute a service contract agreement with Infiletti Landscaping to perform irrigation services and maintenance of the Red Simmons Memorial Site for the years 2016 and 2017 in an amount not to exceed $2,000. The maintenance department is requesting the board approve and execute a service contract agreement with Fire Protection Solutions to perform sprinkler system testing and inspections of Geauga County buildings for the years 2016 and 2017 in an amount not to exceed $8,000.
I'll make those 3 motions.
Second?
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye. It's freaking a lot of heat out here.
That's so that you can move faster and get out of here.
I thought it was to clean the ice up there where the icicles came down when we came in the building this morning. We opened the door and the icicles hit.
Slid off the side,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, we broke them off and he says, what was that? And and then I looked on the ground and said, oh, I guess it's icicles.
The next one is for Colleen. Craig, she went through and she's worked on phone operator at another company. She's also worked on the postage machine, Mia, and through everything, she seemed to be the perfect candidate for this position.
It's changing the date from March 30th to February 29th. So that change will be reflected when I read it. Do you have any other questions? The maintenance department is requesting the board approve hiring Colleen Craig to the position of part-time general communications clerk and switchboard operator number 1912-1 to be effective February 29th, 2016 at a rate of $9.39 per hour. After the successful completion of a 180-day probationary period, the rate will increase to $9.89 per hour.
Make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
The only problem with that is she only have an anniversary of 4 years.
Yeah, because she's hired on a leap year, so.
Y'all have a good day.
I know.
I took a tour of the barn when we were at the county.
Yeah.
Glenn and his team have done a really nice job out there.
That's a wonderful barn.
It is, you know, that old beat-up barn that we were multi-purposing or repurposing. You guys have done a nice job out there, kind of revamping that, and getting it set up for the vehicles and stuff in there, so I was impressed.
I'll appreciate that. I'll let the guys know. Thank you.
Morning, Scott. Morning, Scott.
Morning, Scott. Good morning. Did you see this last week? Plain Dealer, new solution to heroin. I'm gonna give you a copy of this before you leave. This is a Swedish solution for solving our heroin problem. It involves giving people all the heroin they want. That's the new Swedish solution.
Huh.
That's sponsored by the funeral director?
I'm very interested in the sheriff's, the sheriff's opinion on their answer to this.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea, but I'll read you.
Keeping in mind, this came out of Cleveland,
Right.
and it's written by somebody from the ACLU. Kind of tells you everything you need to know, but I'd be interested in, this is how progressive nonsense happens. It starts there. So. But anyway, I'd love to get your take on it.
What we have here is this is the equitable sharing agreement that we have to file every year with the Department of Justice and how we spent the funds that were seized. It's all seizure money. And typically we bring this to you and you sign it and we mail it back. They want us now to file that electronically, but we still have to come and get approval to file it electronically.
The Sheriff's Office is requesting the board approve and authorize the submission electronically of the annual federal equitable sharing agreement and certification affidavit for 2015.
I do have a question. What is equitable sharing?
So
Can you
the
define
word
that for
they
me?
gave it.
I could go on for an hour probably.
Yeah.
There are certain buzzwords that just
The
kind of catch
nonsense.
your attention.
Yeah, that's right. This whole equitable thing, I'm not sure exactly what equitable is, but whatever.
I will make that motion.
Thank you. I second that.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
I apologize for the federal government putting you through this nonsense. Right home? Yes. You can have my-
Morning, Jerry.
I'm feeling
That
goofy
little
today,
word
too.
today, I was waiting for it.
We use there for the ceremonial, whatever, it's not the wash. Yeah, the wash.
No, they didn't.
Well, not for the building, I mean, that's twofold, it's for the building, but it had to go somewhere.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, is they could have gone out and pulled the lid on the vacuum tank and seen it get something through the vacuum tank too.
Well, yeah, but if you pull the lid, doesn't it lose the vacuum?
No, it's all piped inside the tank.
Oh, okay, so it's an inspection,
An inspection,
port,
yeah.
inspection port that
Didn't get any
doesn't.
more valves.
It should really be like a cash register sound on your end.
Yeah, a little wheel, a water wheel that goes cha-ching, cha-ching, as the water goes by.
Seizure money is shared amongst, I usually have one of these requests from the office too, and I have to see it. Because they also have to file.
This is your nickel. Go ahead. Sorry, Chair.
No, that's fine. First item here is we have our trunk main that runs from South Russell down to our McFarland wastewater plant. There's an area it crosses the river down through there about 12 times. For some reason, they thought that'd be a good idea when they put it in back in the 70s. There's 2 areas right now that the sewer line is starting to be exposed in the river. So this is to hire, or start negotiating with LGB Incorporated to do the engineering to realign that sewer in that area where it's crossing the river a couple times and it's being exposed in the river. So we can get that addressed before it becomes completely exposed and then becomes a possible health hazard of the pipe breaking and dumping sewage into the river, which we don't want to have.
Department of Water Resources is requesting the board authorize the department to begin negotiations on a contract with LGB Incorporated for engineering and survey services on a relocation of the county's sewer trunk main in the Canyon Lakes area of Bainbridge Township.
Make that motion.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
And the next 2 items, 13 and 14 here, are service contracts, they're just our initial service contracts to have Iron Arrow and Groundworks to be able to do some of our bigger projects for excavating and replacements if need be. Again, we probably, I think last year, out of all of our service contracts that we put in place, we used about 40%. We're dropping on that number because the guys that we have that are in our maintenance department are much more capable of doing a lot more work than the ones we've had in the past, so we've been doing a lot more in-house. We still want to have these in place in case we can, we have something that comes up that they can't do, and then we can get it done in a quicker time fashion, and we don't having to go out and get contracts and everything at that time.
Or if you have 2 things at the same time.
Right.
Your people can only do one at that time. These people can come to something else in the event of a natural disaster or something, right?
Correct.
The Department of Water Resources is requesting the board approve an executed service contract agreement with Romano Iron Arrow Contracting Incorporated to perform excavating services as needed at various locations within the department for the year 2016 in an amount not to exceed $20,000. Department of Water Resources is requesting the board approve and execute a service contract agreement with Groundworks Construction LLC to perform excavating, landscaping, and building maintenance services at various locations within the department for the year 2016 in an amount not to exceed $20,000.
I'll make those motions.
Quick question for you.
Yeah.
In these contracts, do we have adjustments being made for fuel cost? I see that they base their hourly rate on, I don't know what they base their hourly rate, but we have an hourly rate, and I'm assuming that includes the cost of the truck, fuel, so on and so forth. I'm just kind of curious, since fuel costs are down, is that a major thing? Is it something to look at?
It's not, usually with these, we go back out, and whenever we do have something, we go through our service contracts and find 2 or 3 contractors who do the work and have them come out and bid that individual project based on their original service contract. So that would be if they were gonna include that, they would include that in there. But it's not, I know we have some of those in some of our other contracts, but they don't believe they're in these service contracts.
Is there practice, I'm not seeing it in these contracts, I didn't catch it the first time I read through these. Is there approach to line item the fuel charge, or to bake that into the overall cost?
Most of the time, they bake that into the overall cost, so it's not opposed to like some of the delivery services that we have that still have that little fuel surcharge on there as
Because
well.
I'm just wondering, and I don't know if it's, because the equipment that they use is uses a lot of fuel. We're talking $10 or 10 miles to the gallon or 4 miles to the gallon kind of stuff, I'm guessing.
They usually work that into their overall hourly charge for, the fuel for the excavator, or fuel for bringing the trucks on the site, or bringing the equipment on site. That's usually worked into their general contract. They don't, on these ones, they don't usually specify an individual amount for fuel costs.
My curiosity, I mean, I hate to belabor this, but just for a curiosity standpoint, if they create the cost or their rate to you based on their cost, and the cost have gone down substantially because of the fuel costs have gone down, they're not gonna come back and it's just money in their pocket.
Yeah.
I don't know if that
Have
was
they
ever a
ever-
consideration, so.
Have they ever in the past, when fuel prices were going the other way, come back and imposed a surcharge on the fuel?
Not
To your
not to
to
my
your
rec- yeah, not to my
recollection.
recollection. I can't imagine. I don't remember them
So it
looking
goes
at
both
their
ways.
price. Their prices obviously went up more, but again, if they're not specifically
Well-
defining that individual item, it's hard for them to come back and say, look, we got this issue.
My experience with these type of people, the excavators and so on, is they come up with a price for a piece of equipment. If we're gonna use a bulldozer, it's $100 an hour. If you're gonna use an excavator, it's $125 an hour. And that's the wear and tear on the machine, the fuel costs, the operator's costs. They come up with a price for that. You know, a dump truck might be $80 an hour or some number. And Skip is right, there have been occasions where I've seen where they put a fuel surcharge in, but that's not because it went up and down a dime a gallon or something. It's like when they were under contract and then lo and behold, the fuel's $1 a gallon more. I believe refuse companies would do that pretty frequently, but their equipment's on the road driving, you know, I mean, they're using a lot of fuel driving on the road, where an excavator's truck is going from one site to another. It's defined. It's not a stop and go. I mean, if you check the mileage on a school bus, you'd be dumbfounded, because they're always stop and go. They don't get very good mileage.
It was just a curiosity because of the fact that our gas prices have gone down so much that, might be an opportunity to lower the cost of it. It's just some goofy thoughts. Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Clickwell?
Yes.
Thank you, Jerry. Linda. Good morning.
A while ago, Commissioner Claypool mentioned in a session that he was interested in seeing us address policies pertaining to probation. So I met with the policy committee and we came up with some changes. I have presented them to you along with the rationale for why we are asking for the various changes that we're proposing today. The one that's not related to probation directly has to do with being allowed to flex time. We have always been allowed to do it, but there's been some constraints on them. The use of flex time, and we wanted to specifically address those to free up the ability to flex time a little bit for the employees, and to also explicitly allow both hourly and overtime exempt employees to utilize it and to set the parameters for that. So the flexible time thing is a little bit longer than it used to be, but explains things a little better. This was one I thought we would knock off in 15 minutes, and I mean, it took us hours to discuss this and come to the right language to describe what we were asking you to allow us to do for the employees in the use of flexing time, and to, while keeping it from being abused. So the main thing we were trying to address was that in the past, overtime exempt employees were not allowed to take a full day of flex time even if they had the hours to do it. They were required to come in and work for an hour or two first and then use flex time for the rest of the day, and nobody had any good reason for why we were having to do that. So this explicitly says that we're allowed to take a full day, but no more than once per calendar month, so that it doesn't get abused. In reference to hourly employees, and of course all of this is done only with the approval of a supervisor. Can't you say, I'm just not coming today by, it has to be approved by a supervisor in both cases, both for hourly and for overtime exempt employees. For hourly employees, they're allowed to flex time within the constraints of the work week rather than the calendar month. So I presented it to you along with the explanation, asked for questions, didn't get any, so that's one. The one that we did the most changes to is the classification and compensation plan. We did quite a bit of changing of this to reflect reality, and I hope improvements for both the employees and for the county. One of the things we did was we eliminated the probationary salary rate. The current policy is that a person who's on probation takes a 5% knock during the course of their probation. And that's really not an employment best practice anymore to do that. So we proposed to eliminate the probationary rate. In addition, we had not allowed probationary employees to receive the annual increase at the same time as everybody else. Since we're also asking to increase the probation time from 180 days to a year, we thought it would be pretty unkind to somebody to make them wait possibly 11 and a half months to get the salary increase that everybody else got in a given time, possibly. So we were asking to eliminate requiring probationary employees to wait, to just allow them to receive the annual increase at the same time that everybody else does. In addition, we had a reference in the classification and compensation plan that said essentially, if you get a decent review, you're going to get a step increase. I've been here 10 years and we have never done that, so it seemed kind of like it ought not to be in the policy if it's not what we do. So we changed that to say, subject to board approval, employees may receive a pay increase on an annual basis after receiving a satisfactory performance evaluation, because we would still like to get to having performance have an effect on our pay. We're not there, we're not even close to there, but that kind of says maybe it could at least be related to. And we do have a practice where people don't earn at least 50 points on their annual review, they do not get the annual increase, and that is our practice, and this reflects that. Let's see. We also had a practice in here where people who are on, this is in a different section, it's on the, where we do promotions, that we were not allowing people to apply for a promotion if they were on probation, and we have changed the requirements there to give directors a little bit more latitude to offer a probationary employee an increase, particularly because we're increasing the length of probation to 1 year. And that is, in fact, a best practice from CCAO, which is why we're proposing it. A lot of people don't understand that government employees, by state law, once they're off probation, have ownership rights in their jobs, different from people in the private sector.
Well, most government employees.
Well, those that aren't at will.
Yeah.
It's the vast majority.
Right.
Are employees that literally own their jobs, the same way they own their house or their car, and you can't take it from them without due process, which is why it's so hard to get rid of maybe substandard employees, because you have to go through a process because you're taking their property, which is their job. So it's not a bad idea. It's pretty hard to pretend to be a good employee for a year, in my opinion. So if we increase the length of time, but we take away all the onerous effects of it, except you don't own it for a year instead of 6 months, it seems like it's a win for the county, and it's also a win for the employee. We're not going to knock your pay, we're not going to keep you from getting your annual salary increase, we're just going to make you wait longer till you own that job.
Or being considered for promotion, maybe.
Well, and again, we have greatly decreased the strictures on that, because as a department director, I feel like I can tell within a reasonable amount of time if somebody's going to work out or not. I do tend to take people at face value a little bit. I think they're just like me, and I could never pretend for that long. But we have given the department heads, again, a little bit more latitude to give an employee an opportunity to apply for a promotion even though they're on probation. We are still going to require every new employee, except at-will employees. Non-classified employees are not subject to probation. Classified employees will all serve a 1-year probation, even if they have a promotion within their probationary period. They will do at least a year. So, does that cover everything? We got the flexible hours, we're changing it to a year.
So I have a question for you.
Okay.
Does the probationary period, I'm just thinking through this now, if somebody gets a promotion in the midst, they're going into a whole new job,
It's gonna be 6 months.
Does that restart the
It
clock?
does, but it's only 180 days. in
Because
that
sometimes
case.
you might get promoted into a job that you're not capable of. And the job you had was great.
Correct.
You get promoted into another job you're promoted beyond your capability, then you got a problem, so.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
what happens, I start,
Don't start with me, Commissioner. I've done this for months.
Oh, wait a minute, you're
I
still on your
start
probation.
this week.
I'm a girl, Commissioner.
We're all in a probation, always.
I'm always on probation.
Yes, there you go.
I start this week, and I worked for a month, and now there's an opening above me. And I apply for that opening, and I'm the best applicant, and I get the job. Then I have a 6-month probationary period on there.
Except that you have to do a full year.
You have to do the
Yes.
full year, all right.
It's-
So,
and that is
so
covered.
it's a 6-month probationary period. If I've got 10 months in and get the new job,
The clock starts ticking again for
Clock starts
180 days for the new job.
For the, right,
Yes.
okay. Because I was just saying, because you could have an employee that was here for a month, get a promotion to a new job, and then have a 180-day period or 6-month period, and so rather than serve the whole year, he serves 7 months on probation.
The way it says, believe me, and my department heads beat me up on this, coming and going.
I'm sure
Thank
that,
God
and I'm asking, I'm not,
They thought of
Yeah.
everything. The sentence says, an employee hired under these conditions shall serve a 180-day probationary period in the new position, provided that all classified employees shall serve a minimum 1-year probationary period.
okay.
You're gonna get your year, no matter what.
That's fine, I just,
And if it's month 11, week 3, and you get that probation, you're starting over again with 180 days for the promotion position.
okay.
Yes?
Can I roll back to something you mentioned early on, because I want to make sure the board hears it and everyone here hears it. The policies refer to a step increase. Okay? County has salary grades and steps. And the intent would be that if the cost of living never went up, that as people progressed through their job, they would have a step increase that would reflect an inflationary increase in most cases. But what's happened is our salary structure vis-a-vis other hiring people is somewhat behind. So what we've done over the last, at least since I've been here, more often than not, rather than doing a step increase, we've moved the whole scale by 2% or 3% or whatever it is. So people don't go up a step, they just go up with the whole scale. What happens, this contrasts with, very often with schools, what they do is, they provide step increases, and at the same time, they're doing a cost of living that moves the whole scale. Now, you had the effect of those two things, and you're seeing your wages go up faster than inflation, which, in my humble opinion, is why there have to be tax levies for schools, because their whole payroll structure is outpacing inflation because of the combined effects of those two things. At the county, we don't do that. There's either a step increase, or we move the whole scale, not both. But that's kind of frustrating to people, and our personnel policy referred to this step increase as if it was going to happen every year, and it doesn't, because we have to move the whole scale to keep the entry-level wage competitive.
And if the public understood any of that, I am impressed.
It was interesting when I was on a school board to have a teacher say to me, I haven't had a raise in 3 years. And I would say to them, did you get your step increases? Well, yeah. Did you get more money? Yeah. That's a raise. No, that's a step.
Linda,
What?
Linda and I have personal experience, so
Yeah.
I understand it very well. And, don't even get
That's
into
not a raise, that's
the
a step.
education,
We
the
had
educational
a school
step.
board member in Newbury that was a career educator, and she literally said, oh, that's not a raise, that's an increment. Like
Yes.
it's a birthright or something.
Well, so anyway, we just felt that the policy ought to reflect the reality of what we do and not say we're gonna do a thing that we're not doing, so.
I applaud your effort, I read through it and I like what you did.
Thank you.
See how it all plays out, so.
Yeah.
Who's
committee-
on that committee?
The committee is Mike, Glenn Vernick, Karen DeCola, Jessica Bolt, Dan Spada, who is the guy from down at the building department.
Adrian?
Yes, Adrian Gordon and Dale Wedge. Dale and Karen were actually part of the committee who looked at this in 2002, the last time the policy manual was thoroughly updated. So you have wonderful institutional knowledge from the two of them. For Glenn, you kind of get that military perspective from Well, you do.
Yeah.
From Mike, you get the public sector experience that he had with UPS.
No, it's a good cross-section.
It is. It's a
Yeah.
great
Yeah,
bunch of
I wasn't,
perspectives.
I'm always impressed how Glenn gets his guys to all line up in the morning and salute him when he comes in.
Morning PT and-
Yeah.
And their
Flag
work clothes are
raising
so
and-
shiny.
yeah, you get shaved looking in their toes of their shoes, you know, they're all spit polished, they look like a mirror.
So anyway, I presented to you these changes and the explanation for what is changing and why we're changing it, and so I respectfully request that you approve these policy.
And now this is only number 15 that we're reading right now, or are we gonna go ahead and,
You want to do 16 and 17 and
I
Well,
can-
yeah, 16 and 17, like
I can
follow-ons.
explain them
Yeah.
to you if you want and go ahead with them. One of the things that we had to do, when we have new hires, they receive the employee handbook. This is the little quickie version of our big
Mhm.
fat one. And so obviously, if we're changing stuff in the big one, we have to change this to reflect that. So I'm asking you to approve the changes in there. The other issue that came up in my wonderful committee was, what do we do with the employees who are currently on probation, of which there are 19 people on probation right now. And my thought was, everybody just goes to the new system together right now. And I got tremendous pushback from the committee on that. They thought that was just a terrible idea and not fair, and different people are motivated by different things. And so I talked to Dave and I talked to Laura, and Laura came back, she actually agreed with me, but she said if you're going to change the terms and conditions of people's employment, you need to get them to sign off on that. And so what we decided was, if we're gonna require the employees to sign off, we will let them choose. And so I have prepared a form that's going to be distributed along with copies of the policies and the explanation of the changes to all the people who are on probation, and they get to choose. Do they want to stay under the old system they were hired under, or do they want to switch to the new one? Because they can weigh what way. For me, I would take the money, but then I'm always on probation. Being on probation doesn't bother me, essentially. But some people who are, like 2 weeks away from finishing their 6-month probation, there's really not a big motivator to them to get 2 weeks more of $10 or 10 cents an hour to be extended for another 6 months of probation. They may choose to stay under the old system. It all depends where you stand, depends on where you sit, kind of. So we're going to let them choose. And so I'm asking you to approve that approach and to allow me to use the form that I've created. Laura looked at the form, said it was fine. Had a couple tweaks, I tweaked it, so that we can let the employees decide which way they want to go. And then I don't mind tracking it either way. I got to track them anyway, so.
Okay, well, you can read all three.
The Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board approve and adopt the following updates to the Geauga County Personnel Policy and Procedure Manual, Section 2, Employment, page 2.6, Probationary Period, page 2.7, Performance Evaluation, Section 4, Compensation, page 4.1 through 4.3, Classification and Compensation Plan, and page 2.17, Flexible Hours, to be effective February 18th, 2016. The Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board approve and adopt the revisions to the Geauga County Employee Handbook to reflect the updated policy changes to be effective February 18th, 2016. The Commissioner's Office is requesting the Board approve the probation policy acknowledgement form to allow employees currently on probation to choose how they wish to complete their probationary period.
I'll make those 3 motions.
Second, all three.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks for your work and effort on that, and thank the people on the
I will do that.
committee.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Michael?
Good morning.
Morning. Morning.
How's the house going? Okay.
That good, huh?
We'll go to the next,
Okay.
that's okay. Okay. Yeah, almost there.
Okay.
Almost there. But another room has been added now.
Uh-oh. Project expands.
Whatever, I go in the other room and watch TV.
This is your Melzer.
Oh,
Sure, Nick.
my Melzer's fuel contract, that's just to install, there's no cost to us for the installation, rental, anything like that, it's just to install really in place a 300-gallon tank, gasoline tank, 87, on our current fuel island.
Because you're refueling a water resource.
Yeah, we're refueling across
For the
the
gas.
street, so-
Yeah.
Now I have my own gas refueling basically, and the small
Makes
tank
sense.
sits in there nicely.
So it's under the
Yeah, it's under
the
the.
awning, canopy, whatever you want
It's
to call it.
under the number 5 rated tornado.
Roof. Yeah.
In reality, if there was a tornado, God forbid, the building would be sucked away and that roof would still be there.
Take the tanks, everything out from under it, but that roof is gonna be
You're out,
there.
strap yourself today.
I
Yeah.
have a plan. The employees all have straps to strap me in. But
Can we
anyway,
get a
yeah.
picture of that?
And it has a containment, it's one of the tanks that has its own
Yes.
self-containment
Yes, it's got a
area around
self-containment
it.
barrier around it, it's all marked, it meets all the standards for a portable tank.
This is 300 gallons. What is the one for the diesels that you have over there? 1,000 or?
I think it's 900. I think it's a 900 gallon tank.
When are we going to the all-electric or natural gas vehicles?
When it becomes more cost efficient. Right now, a natural gas station, filling station for a rural transit bus system is about 300,000 for the station itself.
Oh, sign me up.
And that, yeah, and that, that does not, that's just the filling station, that doesn't include the actual bus, the gas bus, which is, I think, I'm not sure the price, but I think it's more than adding a diesel. to it.
Cleveland probably has a couple of used ones that would be willing to sell us.
You're gonna have to drive a lot of miles, saving, the
You
saving
will
per
never
mile.
drive enough miles.
Yeah, to pay
save
for the
$300,000.
infrastructure there.
They have retrofit kits for the vehicles, which I think are about 11,000
To run the gas on the
to run
diesel.
the CNG.
Yeah.
I'll throw that number out, I think it's about 11,000 retrofit kit. Just economically for us now, makes no sense.
Yeah, windmills don't make any sense either, but we still do. Sorry, I took us off on a tangent.
I haven't
apologize.
contributed to that group either.
I'm in a goofy mood today, so I apologize to you.
Oh, that's good.
So, anyway, I'm ready to, go ahead.
There is one
Let's
thing
play
in there.
exciting.
If you read, there is one thing I need to note, if you read the front of the contract, it says we will be purchasing approximately 900 gallons of fuel
A month.
a month. That is, the word approximate is anywhere between 400 to 900. That's my agreement with it, because right now we use about 675 a month. Averages out, so. And we're
Yeah,
not
otherwise
putting- we are, yeah.
If you're locked in at
We're not
900,
locked-
you
we're
might
not
have to pump a few on the ground.
No, we're not locked in at this. And we are putting on our two new buses, which we haven't put on yet, our gas, so.
Okay, so then we'll have 4 in the fleet, is that right? Okay, that'll help,
Right.
or
Use that up.
hurt, depending on which way you look at it, but it'll use more fuel.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Transit Department is requesting the board approve and authorize the president of the board to execute the Melzer Fuel Service fuel purchase and loan equipment agreement for a gasoline fuel tank to be located at Geauga County Transit for a 1-year period ending December 11, 2016, with an approximate monthly funding requirement purchase of 900 gallons of fuel.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
We're going to executive session.
Commissioner's office is requesting the board move into executive session for the purpose of discussing the discipline of a public employee in the transit department.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Would there be action?
Probably will.
There will likely be.
Okay, and let the record show that it's 10:05, is that close enough?
10:05, according to.
Okay, that we go in.
I can't see the clock.
Looks like 10:36 or 7.
10:36, according to cell time.
The Transit Department is requesting the board accept the disciplinary recommendation of the hearing officer, Karen DeCola, and to suspend without pay Sharon Meeser, transit dispatcher, in the Transit Department for 24 hours, 3 days for a violation of Geauga County Personnel Policy and Procedure Manual, Section 3, Conduct, page 3.2, violation of any provisions of county policies or procedures, and page 3.3, any other action deemed serious enough by administrative personnel, and further approve and execute the order of removal, reduction, suspension, involuntary disciplinary separation form per ORC 124.34 for the 3 days.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Commissioner Rea?
Aye.
Commissioner Claypool?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. If we have no other business, I move to adjourn.
We can copy it, and I'll see what we got as far as time.
I handed you that deer handling document. I've got another copy I'm gonna provide to you to get to Ralph.
Right.
The transit department brought over a proposal for us to handle the deer.
Engineers.
Or not transit, sorry, engineering department. I was gonna have the transit department do it, but.
That's right.
So,
I'm sure I have some guys that might just decide to do it.
yeah, the county engineer is currently picking them up, but it's, it takes them off their, what they should be doing and their job and so forth. So if they offers a proposal that looks reasonable, we need to get it run by the other county commissioners.
Yeah, I'd like
and
to
get it approved, so.
Go through, I mean, you handed it to me at the beginning of the meeting. A cursory look, looks okay, but I'd like to.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Frank Antonucci handed it to me last week and said, hey, would you pass this around? And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
given the holiday and everything, I just got a chance to get around to it, so whatever that's worth, just,
Okay.
so that's it, that's it.
This whole time.
He seconds,
Water resource.
we're adjourned.
We're adjourned.
Thank you.